difficulties, and excited to have Amanda McCoy, who recently took over as the manager at Qualla Arts Crafts Mutual, and she's an artist in her own right, as well as managing the shop, and she's going to give us a history of the Qualla Arts Crafts Mutual.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Like he said, I've recently become the manager of Qualla Arts and Crafts, and not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous today, so if I start sounding a little bit like Porky Pig, just giggle and we'll go on. Yes, ma'am. How's that? How's that? Great. All right. God, I feel like I'm like right on this thing. Okay. So to get started, we always ask ourselves the question, what is the difference between historical, traditional, and contemporary art? And for us, by using what they had around them to create necessary items within our ancestors' households, we can see an evolution of that art throughout time. A good example would be in our baskets. At one time, they did not have any dyes utilized in them because they had a utilitarian purpose. We didn't need to have dyes in a fish basket because it was going to get covered in that fish's blood. So the thought of using butternut or walnut, bloodroot, and even yellowroot was a very contemporary thought for that time. And there are always new thoughts and ideas for different pieces, patterns, or even techniques to be tried out. So what we now know as traditional artwork was very contemporary for its time. And as we all know, art is in everything around us. From nature, we gain inspiration, and through sustainable harvesting of materials, we can create what once had a utilitarian purpose for our people that can now be a beautiful piece of artwork on your mantle at the house. And we are located in Cherokee, North Carolina, of course, with the Cultural District. It's actually across the street from the Museum of the Cherokee People at 645 Zolly Boulevard. And you'll see those lovely blue signs right there on the side of the building. All right. So during the Great Depression, during the mid-1930s, we had representatives from the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Department of Agriculture, and the Indian Arts and Crafts Board who pushed for the addition of crafts classes to the curriculum at the Cherokee boarding school. And that did help to revive our art of basket making. Plans for the establishment of Soco Gap began in 1939, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park was established in 1940. So that really helped us to become a tourist town. Excuse me. And before the two highways were created, our people would walk from their homes wherever they may have been in Cherokee over into Maggie Valley, which would be about a 7-hour trip on foot, Waynesville, which would be about 10 hours, and even across the mountain into Gatlinburg in the Pigeon Forge area. And I don't know anybody that's going to walk that distance these days with all those crafts. And with local interest in Cherokee arts and crafts production and preservation already in place, during the 1940s, Cherokee Agency Superintendent Joe Jennings assembled a group of craft supporters, including Principal Chief Jarrett Blythe, Home Economic Supervisor Gertrude Flanagan, teachers Lottie Stamper, who's actually standing in that photograph right there, and Ethel Garnett, and that was in the hopes to greatly extend the arts and crafts produced on our boundary. In December of 1945, we had 28 local craftsmen and 9 Bureau of Indian Affairs employees who came together to discuss the forming of an association. And that's where Superintendent Jennings suggested that a constitution and bylaws be drafted. Once these were written, our articles of association and bylaws were sent to the head of the BIA for approval. On June 13th, they were signed and dated by Assistant Commissioner William Zimmerman. That 6-page document begins with, "We, the undersigned members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, do voluntarily associate together to promote our social welfare in the economic field by forming a nonprofit arts and crafts association." We have 59 artisans sign that document, and on August 23rd, they were read, signed, officers were elected, and the Qualla Arts and Crafts Association became formally organized. Most importantly, the organization was under the direction of the artisans that it represented, and that is still true today. We were a financial success from the beginning. We grossed $7,000 during the first year of operation. That doesn't seem like a lot now, but in the 40s, that was a nice chunk of change. And 7 years later, our organization was debt-free. In January of 1955, our membership chose to get out from under the supervision of the BIA, and we actually made application to operate our business under the state of North Carolina. The successfulness of the decision changed the Qualla Arts and Crafts Association into the Qualla Arts and Crafts Mutual Incorporated that we have all come to know and love today. Excuse me. Now, to be considered for membership, our individuals must be at least 16 years old. They have to be a member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. They must submit 3 completed examples of their artwork, and they are required to demonstrate their craft before our board of directors. And they'll jury the crafts based on originality, elements of art, design, knowledge, degree of difficulty, marketability, and authenticity. And that defines those standards to encompass both traditional and contemporary crafts. If applicants are approved by the board, they are then voted on by our full membership, so everyone has a voice in our cooperative. Okay. Now, our mission is to encourage quality crafts in both workmanship and design. We provide a year-round marketplace and help craftspeople, secure better prices for their hard work. Now, with the help of the Cherokee Preservation Foundation, the revitalization of traditional Cherokee artisan resources, the RT-CAR program, a lot of people know that as, Mainspring Conservation Trust, Conserving Carolina, and our cultural partners being the Sequoia Fund, Cherokee Historical Association, and the Museum of the Cherokee People. We all group together to help each other provide materials for artisans. Cherokee Preservation Foundation helps us with grant funding. We get marketing and sales off of those, so we all help each other out in that community. And we have a permanent gallery and archives that was built in 1969 as an addition to our main sales floor there. And those are dedicated to the deceased and inactive artisans of Qualla Arts and Crafts. That collection highlights the variety of Cherokee talent in art, and our priceless treasures are safely kept, carefully handled, and cleaned to keep those pieces in quality condition for our people and art enthusiasts alike to treasure for years to come. Excuse me. Now, our staff kind of help bridge the gap between our membership and potential customers, researchers, and journalists. We also purchase crafts, do marketing, benefits allocations, grant writing, training, and educational programs. Now, something that's very important to us to keep these crafts going are to teach our youth the traditional art forms. And we do that again with the help of our partners, also sustainable harvesting of plants and properly identifying those trees and plants that are used in our crafts. Because if we have one generation lose a craft, it's going to take 3 generations to gain that back. We are online at quallaartsandcrafts.org, and we've also got a Facebook page at Qualla Arts and Crafts Mutual. The photograph over here is the very top of our website. My screen was not large enough to take a big screenshot. Bless you. Now, some people may think that we are just another craft shop when they come through Cherokee, but we're so much more than that, as our mission to preserve Cherokee arts and crafts has never been more important to us. All ethnicities and cultures face a multitude of influences from media that threatens our authenticity and meaning. Qualla not only saves and preserves valued objects, we likewise encourage and preserve the cultural traditions and processes that make those objects possible. As an artist, we see it as an honor to be invited into the organization's ranks. It's wonderful being employed there, working amongst the beautiful handmade crafts that are traditional to our people for thousands of years now. The customers and supporters who appreciate the crafts, and our great co-workers who strive to work together as a team so that our organization can continue for many years to come. And Qualla does keep all of our crafts together, and as one of our charter members said, is the best thing that our tribe ever chose to do. And I'm sorry that was really quick. Does anybody have any questions? I talk fast. Yes, ma'am.
Talk about like all the I know you went over it, but can you talk about like the entities that you all exist in that serve your organization? Like you said that you all are co-op, and then mutual aid organization.
Oh, we are cultural partners,
Well,
or the other organizations.
Co-op.
We are a cooperative, yes. Made up of roughly 350 artisans who have made an application to become members of the co-op there. We work with our cultural partners. They each kind of do their own thing, be it the museum, the Historical Association has the drama in the Oconaluftee Indian Village, and we all coexist within the same less than half mile of one another. So that's what makes up our cultural partners. We also include the Sequoia Fund in that because they have helped us with getting grant funding to be able to teach more craft classes and things. They also will put on the Oconaluftee art show and fashion show, which you'll get to see a lot of fabrics like you see on this skirt here, a lot of different designers and artists in their own right. Some of those artists have actually become members of the cooperative. The Preservation Foundation is one of the entities that you can write grants to, and they award grants to different entities, mostly tribal, just to help keep arts and crafts, harvesting and everything like that going for us. Mainspring Conservation Trust and Conserving Carolina both have trust lands in their names, and they will help us if they have the, say, river cane or honeysuckle on their properties. We can go out with them, with the artists, and harvest those materials. We kind of show them what material is really good to get at what time of the year, so it's a learning process on both sides. And we've got built up really great relationships with all of them to help out artists and everything so that they can get the materials. Other than that, our artists would probably have to go out of state for a lot of these items, like the white oak and maple. They need a certain size sapling, probably no bigger than 8 to 10 inches in diameter. That's what makes up a really good tree for them to be able to use in basket making and things. Even with the river cane, they need it to be at least like a nickel width across. Anything smaller than that is really only good for arrow making. We call it switch cane, but a lot of people know it as mountain cane as well.
The reason why I ask is because, you know, there are a lot of, I work with different organizations and we're funders, and so
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, so you all function as a co-op, but then you partner with foundation and you partner with other groups to get grants. But you all don't get grants directly, do you?
We do. So we're kind of, through the IRS standards, it's very unique how we're set up. So the co-op itself is a 501c4, still a nonprofit, but it's set up very similarly to an agricultural cooperative where every member has a voice and everything. But then we also have Cherokee Talents, which is where all of our grant writing is done through, because it is a 501c3. A lot of grantee organizations don't really award grants to a 501c4, so we had to have the Cherokee Talents come under the umbrella so that we could do grant writing and things like that.
Right. And I like that you all can earn money.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So
Yeah.
see, that's the part that a lot of arts organizations are having to figure out is that, yeah, we want to be able to apply for money, but we want to be able to earn money. Like, how do we set ourselves up to earn money? So I appreciate you explaining that to me. Thank you.
Oh, yes, no problem. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe similarly was wondering about, you said a statement about the organization being under the BIA and then moving it to the state level.
Yes, ma'am.
And like, what, can you describe a little bit of what that was like, or the functionality that served for the business level?
I can touch a little bit on it because I don't know a whole lot about that point in history and everything. But you know, during those times, a lot of things were still under the direction of Bureau of Indian Affairs and everything, because it wasn't until like 1924 when Native Americans were allowed to become citizens of the United States. And so it wasn't so much of a control thing, that, in my opinion, it was more just making sure that monies went to the correct places and things like that. There's even a section in our bylaws that had to have a member of the Bureau of Indian Affairs present at every one of our board meetings, just to make sure funding was going to the right places and money was being allocated to the correct places and things like that. So with our membership, when we become members, it gives us basically one share of stock in the corporation. And with that, when we do craft sales each year, if we sell, I believe it's $500 worth of crafts to the cooperative throughout that year, that gives us a 3% check at the beginning of the next year. It's a dividend. And any of the sales and things of our crafts throughout our lifetimes of being a member, that actually goes into our equity, which at one time used to help go to bury that artisan. But now, you know, with things, with funerals being the way that they are, a lot of it goes to help with any final expenses and anything that the family needs themselves. But each member their numbers are going to be different, fluctuating depending how long they have been a member and how active they have been in the cooperative.
Figured it out.
Yeah. A lot of trial and error over the years. Yes, ma'am.
You had mentioned you guys have workshops.
Mhm.
Are those strictly do you have it for all ages? And can you expand a little bit on how your programming is for that?
Yeah. So in the past, a lot of it has just been to teach members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians these different crafts so that they don't die. Or go dormant, as we like to say now. But we have, within the last few years, began opening up some different workshops to school-age children. Even the North Carolina High School Athletic Association came just last year and learned some wood carving from Davey Arch, who I believe was here yesterday. And he's a phenomenal teacher if you ever get to take a class from him. But yes, we have been opening up those classes to just anyone who wants to learn, because without the help of our supporters, a lot of these crafts could have already went dormant. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Could you talk about your own work and where you learned and how you were inspired to do your own personal creative work?
Yeah. So I am a beadworker. I actually began doing that beadwork probably in 2010. I was, well, being in a rural area, there's not a whole lot of job opportunities out there. So that was actually helping me supplement income and helped me and my ex-husband to be able to raise our daughter. And I actually got into beadwork just because someone made me mad. They really did. They made me mad. Yeah. So growing up, my mom was an artist, and I did not have the knack for painting like she did. I always joked that I can get you somewhere between a doodle and a Bob Ross, but it's not going to be Bob Ross quality. And beads really interested me. And a lady had actually told me, she says, your artwork is nothing, it's going to go nowhere or anything. So it made me mad, and I'm bullheaded enough, and so I made application to be a member of the cooperative, and when I got out, that was my, there you go, to her. Yeah, so that's it. And then I gained inspiration from a little bit of everything, be it a conversation, walking around out in nature, anything like that. I just can pick a art form apart. Like in my brain, it's like a puzzle, and I just kind of pick it apart and I figure the stitch out, or I figure out how I want this piece of beadwork to look or anything like that. And a few years ago, I was actually doing historical reenactment when I worked at the Oconaluftee Indian Village, and it really got me interested in the 18th century styles and how we could bring those into today. So just by looking at a couple of older pieces from that time, I just kind of figured out the stitch sitting there, and it went on. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm interested in some aspects of gender in craft. A lot of the images were of there was a large group of women, and you pointed out Miss Stamper, but then there were some men as well. I'm just curious how that breaks down in terms of membership, like, and or if it breaks down along certain craft lines in terms of men and women and different types of making.
Yeah. Well, historically, we do not have gender roles when it comes to a certain craft or anything. A lot of it would have been passed down through families or even clans at one time. That still kind of holds true today with those gender roles being blurred. We have a lot of basket makers, both men and women, but when it comes to things like sewing or being a seamstress, a lot of that tends to be women that do. Not saying that a man can't sew, they just haven't seen very many become members of the co-op or anything. Beadwork is kind of the same way, carving, flint knapping, anything like that. Mr. Davey Arch, I believe he spoke about learning from Amanda Crow some techniques and things, and she was a wood carver. She also did stone carving, and when she was about 8 years old is when she started. She was the niece of going back in Waddy Chiltosky, so they really taught her a lot. And after she graduated college at, I believe it was the Chicago Art Institute, she came back down here to Cherokee and throughout her career taught over 2,000 students So that was very amazing. And you'll notice if you go to the cooperative that a lot of the artwork in there with the wood carving is pretty similar to hers, with what we call the dancing bear and everything. And those were actually her designs, and a lot of them were her students who learned those designs and just continued them on after she passed away. Just another way to honor another artisan, just like with our basket weaves or textile weaving with the Road to Soko design, things like that. It's a way to honor our past.
Thank you.
So
All right.
you mentioned something about events, like a arts and crafts show and a fashion show. When are those?
So Kananeshki, I believe this year, Taya, is it the first week in November? Yeah, first week in November is going to be the Kananeshki fashion show, and that will be held up at the casino. And I want to say the week before that is going to be the art show for Kananeshki. A lot of the artists who were fashion presenters in the previous years have wanted to be a part of the art show as well, but with the timing and everything, they had to choose one or the other. So we all help each other out with that. And then also over at Qualla, on August 23rd is our 79th anniversary, but that also landing on a Saturday, it happens to land on our open air art markets. And that will be from 9 till 3. So if anybody gets a chance on August 23rd, come and visit us, and you'll get to see some artists, visit with them. They'll be demonstrating their crafts and selling their crafts. So it's a really special moment to be able to meet those artisans and see what makes them tick, what inspires them.
You spoke about the museum. What are the qualifications for accepting pieces there?
At the museum, into their archives, permanent collection. So they've actually done a pretty recent change up to that. They've got a collections committee now, and I believe they meet once a month. You can send photographs to Evan Mathis. He is the director of collections over there, and they will actually present the photographs of items that are wanting to be cataloged into the archives there with that collections committee and everything. And that is made up of some of their board members, but also just some local artisans as well. Yeah. And actually, let me go back to this one slide real quick. Whoops, wrong way. Where is it at? This picture here, that one is going back Chiltowski carving St. Francis, and I believe, isn't that here at the Southern Highland Craft Guild?
I think we have a smaller one.
The smaller one?
Davey just brought me a copy of that.
Yep. Which that was a funny day. I don't know if he told you, but I printed that thing wrong 3 times.
Oh, really?
3 times. 4th try was my charm.
Yeah, we have some smaller ones and some other of his work. We have a fair amount of Amanda Crow's work.
Awesome.
And her member file is a lot from when they were doing the online, or not online, but the mail order, like,
Oh,
like
yes.
little kids where you get the blocks of wood and this is how you carve
Oh,
it.
yes, her carving kits.
Yeah, we have a lot of that promotional material that she worked on.
That is neat. Yeah, she really did a lot for the community, and really all of these artisans have. We each feel that Qualla is very near and dear to our hearts and everything, and we all do what we can to keep that cooperative going. We would like to at least see it get to 100 years old, so we're almost there. We're almost there. Yes, ma'am.
Have you all used a model for the cooperative structure, or have you guys just kind of like invented that and changed it as you have evolved?
So we are based on an agricultural cooperative model, just utilizing arts and crafts. And ours has been used as a model for other cooperatives throughout the United States. So I think during the beginning especially, there were a lot of kinks to work out and everything. But we managed to make it through those and came out on the other end, so hopefully we'll keep on going with it and
what
everything.
are some of the benefits for the art? So the artists get dividends and they get to vote on the new members. What are some of the other benefits that they experience through being
They get to see a better price for their work. A lot of times, especially in smaller craft shops, they can't afford to pay $200 and $300 for a basket or a carving. And so then that artist will have to come down on their price just a little bit for that craft shop to be able to carry those. Whereas at the cooperative, we try to make sure that they have a very fair price for their work, kind of splitting the hair between wholesale and retail. It's actually a better price than wholesale, but roughly 60 to 70% of that overall sale is going to go right back to that artisan, and the rest of it just helps keep our power on and the water running and all that. Yeah. And then they're also eligible, if they are a member in good standing, they are eligible to become a member of the board of directors. We vote on those every 2 years, so actually this coming February will be a new board being seated.
So is most of the art that's in the shop on consignment?
It is not on consignment. We actually